Behind me is the Hunt Library on the CMU campus, and on the 5th floor is one of my favorite places. It is a Pittsburgh hidden treasure called the Hunt Institute for Botanical Documentation. Follow me.
The Hunt Institute is a botanical research facility, and we have a collection of rare books and manuscripts and portraiture and illustrations that go from the 1500s through the current times. So it's our focus is the history of botany as a science. This exhibit has 41 artworks by 41 artists from 14 countries. We pick things that give you a breadth of what artists are doing today. So some are very scientific and include all stages of the plant or the specific characteristics for identifying that plant. And others are more expressive and may deal with issues of death and or just exuberance or plants that are endangered. There are all sorts of reasons why artists choose these plants.
Tell me a little bit about the feeling when the two of you are working together and you come upon a piece of art that is perfect for a show.
You know, it's just sort of this magical moment. We don't disagree very often, or at least not intensely disagree. But when the moment happens where the piece is just perfect, whoever sees it first will just sort of, I want you to just sort of look at this, and we try to not be too effusive in our descriptions to sort of gauge how the other one will respond and let them come to it honestly without influence. But you can tell when the other one is really interested in something, and we just, our desks face each other, and so we'll sort of look over our computers at each other and see what their expression looks like. Just see if they're as excited as we are, as I am.
I know that all these works mean something to you, but we talked about one over here. Mm-hmm. Tell me the fascinating story of this piece of work.
The artist is from Japan, Mitsuko Korishina, and she was telling us that in 2001, when they had the devastating earthquake and tsunami in Japan, there was this plant along the Kaji River, and at that point all the soil, all the plant life had been destroyed. And a few months later, a researcher found a little bit of this Artemisia growing again, and like a true survivor. And she heard that the next year this plant bloomed and it was in flower, and the following year she had an opportunity to go there, and she said it was this lonely, foggy morning, and she was just so moved by this plant because the remains of the flowers, all brown and shriveled, were still there, and she had to capture this in its habitat. So this piece has the sense of a foggy morning, the loneliness and the survivorship of this one plant, and she called it Old Woman. And it just, you think about what people go through in their life and the things you have to deal with, and you still survive, you keep moving forward, and there's this fresh growth coming up below the old woman, and it's just such a moving piece.
One of my favorite pieces in this show is also maybe the smallest one in here. It's by an artist named Jane Fisher from Minnesota. She works really small, and I think a lot of artists are encouraged to go big and go bright and colorful. And her pieces are pen and ink, and they're small, and they're just really intimate sort of moments. She draws a lot of everyday items, leaves and seed pods and bits that you find pretty regularly, but she creates this sort of moment where you pause and you get close and you look at things carefully, and it makes you think about sort of your environment and the things that you maybe walk right by every day without paying the same amount of attention to. And I think she just creates these really nice, quiet little moments.
I think the joy comes in different stages. I mean, you have the joy of finding an individual piece, but then when you join them all together in this space, it's a totally different experience because you start discovering all these relationships that an individual piece, it then has to be paired with another piece, and you see these new forms, you see new color and shapes, and just things that, I don't know, just bring us a lot of joy, just finding a way to walk around a space, and it's like a journey through the room, and one thing leads to another thing leads to another, and that's what I think is really exciting for me and Carrie to do together, is to find those new relationships.
I've never thought about nature in the same way since I started working here. There are plants that I had never heard of before, never seen before. There are parts of the world that I hadn't really had the chance to experience because I haven't traveled there, and now I get to see sort of a little bit of what it might be like in their natural world. I've met artists from all over the world through our conferences and exhibitions.
How each artist has a distinctive way of expressing their love of plants, bringing attention to things you may not normally look at, a common weed versus a garden plant versus this exotic, flora. I think there's something for everyone, and there's watercolors and drawings and prints, and people really using their medium to their highest effect. And I think there's truly something here for everyone. And I think, and especially in the winter months, I think it's such a joy to come and see something like this, this life form where everything's dormant around us in our own landscape.
Wasn't that fun? I love that place, and it's absolutely free to get in. Now, for more information about everything we talked about today, go to everybodygardens.com. That's also where you can become a member of my Seed of the Month Club. Until next week, I might sneak back in. It's nice and quiet in there. We'll see you then.